You are listening to the Joyce Aldrich Show from Toronto, Canada. Paranormal and UFO Edition. Yes, we call them UFOs.
Might be Venus or some unknown light, hovering a bit too low tonight. The lightning sheet, lightning with a balloon, or something strange out of a five-star cartoon.
Joyce Aldrich Show. This is the Paranormal and UFO Edition, and yeah, we have psychic in the city in house today, and that would be psychic medium Brough Perkins. And I asked him to come on come on over. So he is here today. So happy to have you here, Brough, as always.
Howdy, neighbor.
Howdy, neighbor. That's true.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. So you always have lots of great stuff to share because you are a person who you see things, you sense things. And today we're going to be talking about, for the most part, remote viewing and also astral projection.
Yeah, which are in some ways linked. Those two things, those two phenomena, we call them. And I'm excited.
Yeah, well, you kind of scared me in a way when you said that they were kind of linked. And of course they are. It makes sense that they would be linked because you got to leave your body in some way to do the remote viewing. But I've always wanted to do remote viewing, like try to do this, because I got a little bit of psychic ability myself. I thought, how do I do this? Do I have to actually leave my body? Because that's always kind of freaked me out. The same thing with looking into mirrors and trying to see spirits around me. Like, I don't like doing that either. And, I have my line that I don't like to cross sometimes. But so you're going to explain
it's
all
called
of
the
that.
line between here and after.
Yeah,
it's called the final frontier.
Well, it's the veil. I don't mind. The veil's not so not so scary for me to cross in some ways, but you're going to talk to me and to our audience about how not to fear that and how to maybe try some remote viewing. Maybe will you be able to instruct us a little bit or what?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a little crash course. I think that's a great idea. Well, the first thing to address is that the common misconception is that when you're astral projecting, although it seems like you're leaving your body, it certainly feels like that when you're doing it. You're not actually leaving your body. Your soul cannot detach from the body until the time of death.
Well, there's that Aka cord or something. There's a cord, right? A silver cord or something.
Now,
is that
I
it?
believe
I don't know.
that's what they say, and I believe that is a mental construct because so many things when you're practicing astral projection and even just normal psychic ability, I say normal psych. That's how long I've been doing it for. It's normal, but it's just every day. Is things will be symbolic. And I think that the reason for the silver cord, which is what people report seeing, this concept that, again, you're not really detached from your body. What it is now, we have drones these days.
Yes.
25 years ago, what I'm about to say wouldn't make any sense, but this is a wonderful analogy because many people know that drones have little cameras in them, and you can fly your drone and take video. A lot of like real estate agents who I do readings for and stuff, they use these in their listings when they're showing houses for dramatic shots of above the property and everything. And so when you're astral projecting, you're essentially creating an energetic drone, and you're sending it out. It's not really your soul, but you can see through it, you can experience things through it. It even might look like your own physical form, actually looking better than your physical form. It's like your ideal self.
That's a great description. That puts it into perspective.
And a lot of people who are experts in the field will disagree with what I'm saying.
Okay.
On this matter. However, this was explained to me by my spirit guide Laren, and it just made a lot of sense to me. And well, especially because, the first few times I made it out of my body, because I've been practicing it since I was 18, I would get to a certain distance from my body. Maybe I would get outside. Maybe I'd take a leap off the porch and fly like Superman, and maybe I'd make it 10, 15 feet and then just black out and wake up in my body again, as if I had run out of energy. It's a real thing. And people even feel when they first get out of their body, it's hard to pull away from their body, but it's an illusion. In other words, is it hard to pull away from your body, or is it that you're trying to push and send energy out further from your body, but that resistance, you're interpreting it like being pulled?
Well, you said we're really not out of our body, though. We're not really out of our body. So this is not really an out-of-body experience. Like, there's also the near-death experience, right? So all of these things kind of sort of, come together in some kind of crazy way. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the near-death experiences, I would argue those out-of-body experiences are out-of-body. I
Those
think
really are.
Yeah, their soul did detach, and then they come back, and they even report saying, I was told I have to go back.
Right.
But it's a very different thing with astral projection, although it feels pretty much the same as those people with out-of-body experiences report. That's probably why there's so much disagreement on the interpretation of it. But yeah, that's what was explained to me, and it just makes sense.
Well,
I've gone all kinds of places.
I was just thinking about astronauts when they do a spacewalk, when they're attached to the ship. That kind of came to mind.
Yeah, because they've got their oxygen line, and they've got a tether on the ship too. That's a good analogy as well. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you again. Sorry.
Oh, it's great. It's great. So that's the first thing I'd say about it. So no, you cannot have anything jump into your body and replace, because you're not. First of all, nothing else is calibrated for your particular neurological structures and your particular body and your particular quantum filaments in the brain, which we won't even get into, because people won't understand.
So possession of a body is different. So possession is impossible?
Yeah, it's impossible. Even when possessions occur, it's not that an entity's inside of you or taking your body from you. It's more like it's a monkey on your shoulder doing incredible psychic attack, like an acute psychic attack. So, and a lot of people who experience possessions are psychics who are unaware that they're psychic. So they didn't develop properly, and so they're susceptible to those entities. That
the lower level ones.
Lower level,
yeah. Interesting. Wow. Because you see, all of this connects. It's just, and all of a sudden, like, we've only been a few minutes and less than 10 minutes into the program, and I've learned so much about all of this that I kind of understood it, but I'm hoping our audience is kind of getting this, like it's so easy to understand. But so, yeah, so.
Well, I always aim to demystify the mystical.
I like that.
And, I want to dispel fear as much as possible so that we can go into understanding. Fear often blocks understanding.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and we use such a small part of our brain, let alone anything else that we have. And we're apparently, this in 2025, we're going to be jettisoned into the next 12,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
With the precession of the equinoxes finishing, and then a new one starting, or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, so this is going to be quite the year. So I think it'd be good for people to understand that maybe they need to be working on the spiritual and that their abilities, because you're going to be using them.
Well, that's true. That is very true. I was just thinking about with astral projection and remote viewing and stuff, how I think I've told you this before when I switched all my readings to phone readings. I used to do in-person readings for like 20 years almost. And,
Yeah.
as much as I love and miss my clients, and one of the nice things when you're a psychic at the end of work, people hug you. Where do you get that in any other profession? So
Yeah. Virtual hugs don't work as well.
hugs are not the same, but
No.
it's very difficult to have people in person. So, and also so many people from around the world are coming to me that I said, you know what, let's just do all of it on the phone. All of it on the phone. I'm shutting it down. I'm not having an office. Offices are too expensive. I want to keep the readings to an affordable rate.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just do it on the phone. I've always done phone readings. I've always done computer readings. Well, in the early days of the switch, it's about 5-6 years ago, even 7 now, they've been like, bro, every second person, I just don't understand how you can get stuff on me over the phone.
Mm.
And I told one of my clients who's a Hollywood actress this, and the reason I told her is because she's only ever come to me over the phone because she's in Hollywood. So she goes, let me get this straight, honey. These people believe you can talk to the dead and see the future, but the phone is where they draw the line. Like, that's it. And again, you have to get outside of that 3D ape brain thinking where it's all ooga booga physical, This is something different. This is not remote. It's non-remote. It's non-local. I mean, it's non-local. In other words, it is remote. What I do, it's like I'm a wireless device. Your phone can link to invisible connections. Why can't I?
Well, you fly your drone over that person's place and you take a look.
That's right. And it's in New Jersey specifically. You can fly all the drones over there.
Was that you?
Me. I was astral projecting to find out what those were. That's what I was doing.
By the way, going back to your predictions that you did for 2025, you had mentioned that the drone news would basically fade out by February, and it has.
Oh my, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It is about exactly earlier this month that it faded out, isn't it?
Yep.
Huh. Yeah, and I think they had said something to the effect that it's just it was an experiment by the Americans.
Yeah, you mentioned it could be a psyop or something like that. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, just thought I'd mention that. But certainly a lot of things are happening. We won't talk about that right now. But just back to the astral projection and remote viewing, because I'm sure a lot of people would like to know how to do it. I would like to know. I got an idea, but I've listened to enough coast to coast episodes with Ingle Swan and all those people, and I've had Michelle Freed on. She's a remote viewer, and she does that.
I love that episode. I listened to that one.
Did you? She's great, and also with you, and so, but I didn't get the specifics of how to do it.
Yes. Okay. So I guess the best way to be interesting and explain how to do it is I'll tell a quick story about when I taught a group of ladies, about, I'd say 9 or 10 of them. I was on a Zoom. I was invited to be a guest teacher for a Zoom class. And the lesson was about 45 minutes of doing a crash course in remote viewing. So before I met these ladies, my job was to pick a target that I was going to have them all look at by the end of the lesson. They don't know what the target is. Just like when you're having a reading with me, you don't tell me what you want to know. You don't tell me what your questions are. I have to do the reading first. And by the end of it, we see that I've gotten to the core of the issue without you having to tell me. Well, this is what we did with remote viewing. So I picked a star. It was our closest star. It was Alpha Centauri. And the reason I picked that star was because that year we had just gotten a very funny signal from the star, which was right in the range of 14.8 I can't remember exactly the exact number, but it lines up with the signature of hydrogen, which is the most common element in the universe. And so the reason why that's important is because naturally occurring radio signals do not come in on that frequency. And it's understood that intelligent life in the universe might use that frequency as a signaling to any other intelligent life, saying, hey, this is coming from an artificial source. So anyway, we got a signal. So I wanted to go and check it out. So I get on the Zoom call and I explain to these ladies, okay, so here's the history of remote viewing. I talked about how the United States military had used psychics for 21 years, and this had recently been declassified to
Yes.
remotely view and spy on Russians and China and find missing ambassadors and do all kinds of cool things. And I mean, just look up Project Stargate or remote viewing if you're fascinated about this, and you're going to find a ton of stuff by Joe McMoneagle and by Russell Targ, who was a laser physicist, Hal Puthoff, who was Targ's associate and colleague, another scientist, and these guys worked with the military and they did amazing things. I mean, you would have a military official or one of the scientists sit down with a psychic and just give a number, 47B. Now, the scientist would know what that number means. That number could have been, let's say, the Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
And then the psychic has no idea what that number means. But the scientist says, now what I want you to do is just clear your mind and just write out whatever impressions you're getting, especially the surprising ones. I really like that phrase, which is from Dr. Russell Targ. It's like, especially anything surprising that you're not expecting. And so through that process of just sketching pictures and maybe talking a little bit about what they're sensing and seeing, you pay attention to different things. You don't just try to get a picture. Feel it. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it sharp? Is it round? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And then maybe you get a sense of a smell. Maybe you get a sense of an environment. Maybe you do see a picture of something. Well, sure enough, the psychics would draw the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so it's like, how did they know that was what the 47B means? Well, so I'd walked everyone through this process, and without telling them, 8 out of 10 of the ladies drew, all of them without showing each other, because we're all on Zoom, drew stars. Okay.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Alpha Centauri.
And what was really interesting was 5 of them drew a strange metallic cylinder as well.
Wow.
So there's something out there.
A cylinder. And I'm thinking of, when you say a cylinder now, it's not quite a cylinder, but that umwawa or whatever the heck that Hawaiian named thing that's come around into our space is very unusual.
Right. That's right.
Have you remote viewed that thing? Umwawa or I don't know how I don't know how to say it. It's umwawa, like umuamua, umuamua, probably umuamua because it's Hawaiian. Yeah.
I think it is something artificial. Although that isn't the thing that we were getting around.
No, but I'm just thinking of cylinder. Yeah, but it was a metallic cylinder.
This was a metallic cylinder, but just to finish up on Muamua is more flat, I believe. I saw more like a discarded, like it's a probe that was a solar sail from another star system, and it's so ancient and it's just flipping and flying because it just kind of
Broke
went off trajectory. That's right. It had successfully completed its mission thousands of years ago around another star, but then it was flung like space garbage, basically.
Yeah, it was space garbage. Yeah, interesting. We got it.
And so this other cylinder around the closest star to us, which is about 4.2 light years away, which means it takes 4 and a bit years for a radio signal to get to them. So if that radio signal really was from an artificial source in that star system, it was sent 4 and a bit years before we got it. And whereas remote viewing is instantaneous, you see, that's the interesting thing. We could, all those ladies, except for one, every single one of those ladies saw a star and drew stars, and half of them drew a cylinder and described a metallic cylinder. Very, very strange.
Very, very strange. And you wonder if it's on its way here.
Well, there was some speculation about that because something about the frequency was slightly off, which they said was like a Doppler shift, which meant it would have been traveling toward us as it was sending a message. So it might be on its way.
Yeah. Like, how long ago was it that you had done this class?
I want to say it was 2022.
2022?
No, 2023. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so if it's 4 years away, so we're already, maybe it's another 2.5 years away from us.
No, because it's not traveling at the speed of light. They worked it out that it was traveling quite fast, but not at the speed of light. So it could be 50 years off.
50 years off. Wow.
More like
Interesting. Maybe it's picking up a probe, picking up information. Who knows?
that's what I thought. I thought probe. I thought, it's all
Yeah.
a design to make first contact with us. And we'll be ready by the time it's here, if you understand what I mean.
No,
I think that's
I do understand. I mean, 2025 is going to be a pivotal year, but it is not the year, although I would love to see disclosure. But, in 50 years, maybe we'll be ready. I'm hoping before that because it's pretty messed up. But anyway, that's interesting. That's a remarkable thing. So, so you didn't do a lot of preparation for them. You just gave them.
when you're teaching remote viewing, it's best. And here's the other interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
They did not pick professional psychics like myself. They picked just random people.
Yeah.
And the reason is because if people know too much about what they're going to be doing, their expectations, their excitement, their fantasies start coming into play.
Right.
And it's the most difficult thing. And I always say the worst enemy of psychic ability is the imagination. And that's one of the reasons I don't let my clients tell me anything about who they are or why they're coming. Because once I have an idea about what their expectations are, then all my fantasies get in the way. And in the remote viewing field, they actually call that, they have a word for that, analytical overlay, where your own mind's tendency to want to analyze everything varnishes over or paints over what the real information underneath of it is. So we always say, don't overthink it.
No. And I think that also happens when people have, they have regressive, hypnosis, hypnotic regression, regressive hypnosis. Well, you know what I mean, hypnotic regression, because sometimes if the person who's doing the queries asks too much, then the person having it done can fill in where, it's not really true. It's in that area of fantasy or
That's a good
embellishment.
Tendency to want to please, or even that tendency to want to find out yourself. And that's exactly what happens in psychic readings. Is if someone comes to me and says, bro, I just lost my mother, or my husband or my wife is leaving me, because I care about people, my natural tendency to want to help them, I'm like, okay, I have to look at that. But then maybe if they didn't tell me that, maybe not only would I still see their mother, or I might pick up on their life dilemma, but maybe Aunt Marg would come through as well as a surprise. And then, by God, that is even more impactful, because they realize, the day I'm having my reading was the day Aunt Marg died originally. This is her anniversary. So what a spectacular thing. And then Mom comes through afterwards. But if you set me up, and we call it front loading me, I can't be open to all the wonderful potential that could occur in a reading, all the happy surprises.
Yes. And of course that would also be verification for that person who's having the reading. They say, "Wow, this guy's the real deal," and always you are. But yes, I understand exactly what you're saying. So, so we looked at the remote viewing, but what about astral projection? Now, how does that come into play?
So, if you think of remote viewing as connected to astral projection, in remote viewing, you're wide awake. And you're conscious, and you're fully present in your body, but you're still getting a little bit of a tiny little mental probe, like a little window opens up wherever you're looking in the universe. Whereas with astral projection, a lot of those same mechanisms are being used, except you're completely unconscious at the time.
Oh.
Now, the difference and the benefit of being unconscious when you're doing this is you feel like you're there.
Well, how do you know if you're unconscious?
Well, because there's a process to keep your mind awake while your body falls asleep. And that's what we'll talk about when I walk you through that.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes a long time to be able to do it. It's a simple procedure, but it is very difficult. I would say it's like learning to skateboard or play the guitar. It's a technical procedure. It's a simple enough thing, but it takes a tremendous amount of practice to do it, and to do it proficiently.
Yeah.
Some are a little more gifted at it than others. I was part of a group that was for astral projection, where my teacher, the one who taught me how to do it, he's a major contributing member and an admin there. And I mean, we had people there who've been trying for years, whereas I got out of my body in 4 months. But I did it every night for 4 months.
Well, yeah, you piled in a lot of practice in a very short time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I was in bed already. What else was I going to do as far as I was concerned?
Oh, I might as well do a little bit of astral projection
All my
practice here.
exercises are done horizontal. Okay, I like to be cozy.
Well, there you with a nice warm blanket and a teddy bear.
Or my
No, or a kitty cat. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So, so you're okay. So let's talk a little bit about how you would have what kind of practice do you do to be able to astral project?
Well, there are some exercises you do throughout the day where you're not in bed, like you want to, simple ones, like let's say you're reaching for the door to open your door. Just visualize, just have fun playing, visualizing your hand moving through the doorknob. Even though it doesn't, you grab the door, you open the door as normal, but you just do these little mental exercises. What if my hand just went through the doorknob? Just kind of experience that in your mind, like a fantasy. You want to meditate, and the meditation that I always put out there, like there's one in my book in particular where you surround yourself with white light and move the light through your body, saturating all of your cells. And again, there's a couple of things that this accomplishes. One, you actually are moving energy through you and raising your vibration to a more positive, lighter state. Yeah. But you're also exercising the visualization centers of your mind, which is what you need. Your clairvoyance and all of your psychic abilities have to be utilized in order to astrally project. And in fact, a lot of times when people make it out the first time, myself included, are completely blind. You can't see anything because you're not used to using something other than your physical eyes. But usually the second or third time you make it out, you can start to see, often in black and white at first, but now I see in full color when I'm out.
Yeah. It's like anything, if you're an athlete and you want to accomplish whatever it is you're doing, when you're running or you're doing a triathlon or something, you have to practice. And like you said, with the guitar as well, you can't just play guitar right away. You got to get the blisters on your fingers and you got to, the whole thing, the calluses, whatever, and just work through it until it becomes second nature. You don't have to think about it as much. So is it pretty natural for you to just pop out of your body?
Now it is. I sometimes I intend to do it and I succeed at times. And then most of the time I just pop out a few times a year. And it's a wonderful time when I do. It had happened to me accidentally. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to this. When I was 16 and a little goth boy, back in the day, and my girlfriend and I would sneak into the clubs in the city and we'd be out till like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I remember one morning we got back to her place and I got into the bedroom. I got all those dumb clothes off and I fell into the bed. And then I realized my body had fallen into the bed, but I was still floating in the middle of the room. It was a spontaneous out-of-body experience. And I didn't have any form. I remember being like a cloud. And I go, oh, shit. I was so shocked.
It would be shocking. And you'd be wondering, did I just die? I would think I would die. I would think, oh, I've died.
What was even more disconcerting was there were no boundaries because I had no form. I was like a sparkling, crackling cloud is what I experienced.
Wow.
And then I woke up in the body. And a lot of people will have that. My father, even when he was a little kid, he had back surgery. He had a lot of problems with his spine when he was growing up and back in the 60s. So, it was primitive times. And he actually had out-of-body experiences himself in order to escape the pain. As a little.
Yeah.
So spontaneous ones are often the way people first experience it, but you can induce them. And we can talk a bit about that when you're ready.
That would be good. I think I did have one out of body experience, like where I popped out of my body, and it was when I was in a car accident back when I was 24 years old. We were hit from behind, and I remember seeing my body going back and forth in the car. My shoes had flown off my feet, but yeah, I lifted out of my body at that moment, and I saw myself going back and forth. I think that's the only time it ever happened. Yeah, that was pretty phenomenal. I recall that. Yeah. It was just for a moment, a few seconds, but it was upon impact.
Mm-hmm.
On the 401. Yeah. And the odd thing, side story, was that my my fiance, who was on a plane for the first time in his life going out to Edmonton, was all afraid and was back and forth and out of the bathroom, like, having a you-know-what fit. And we kept telling him, his parents and I, don't worry, there are more accidents, on the highways than in the air, is what we said. And while he was still sitting on the tarmac as we were coming out of the airport, we had our accident.
Oh,
Talk about prophetic.
Prove a point.
We just want to prove, and we didn't tell him until he got back because we didn't want to upset him, But anyway, we wanted him to get back on the plane to come home. Anyway, that was my only time. But yeah, so you said you have a way to do this. So
the procedure is fairly simple. So you just lay comfortably in bed, preferably on your back if you can, but some people prefer their side, just so long as you have full body support. You want your head supported properly. You want your body supported, and you don't want to fall asleep you don't want to cause any discomfort. Like, how people can get an ache in their arm or their arm falls asleep if they're laying on it in a funny way. Just make sure that you're able to completely relax. So what you do, you start with getting in that position, and then with your eyes closed and your mouth closed, you just sort of breathe. You regulate your breathing, and you can picture white light moving down through your body. You can picture the whole room filling with white light and this positive energy filling you up. And then what you want to do is you want to start to focus on relaxing all of your muscles, the deepest muscles that you can imagine, like focus on your eyebrow, your mouth, your jaw, your neck, all the way down to your toes, everything in between. And what you're doing essentially is just letting your body go completely. You just stay like that with your eyes closed. Now the brain gets bored because the brain is always used to constant stimulation of sound and light and images. So the brain's going to try and trick you. It's going to make you have an itch. Maybe you start to twitch. Something twitches. Your leg jumps. Just keep ignoring it and focus on letting everything go. Just relax. And eventually your brain gets so bored that it enters what we call the hypnagogic state, which is the early stages of dreaming. And you're still awake when this happens. A lot of times you'll start to hear, maybe music or voices. Maybe even you'll start to see something like a little movie playing out in your mind, or actually just even on the backs of your eyelids. That's when you're starting to fall asleep. Now, what you want to do is, without flinching, without tensing any muscles, wake yourself up mentally only. You can even yell at yourself in your head, like I'll go, wake up, and just using my inner voice. And then you'll come back, and then you'll have to start again and just let yourself relax. And once those dream visions or audio hallucinations start coming back, try and go a little bit deeper, and then wake yourself up, mentally alert, but without flinching anything. Then you do it one more time, maybe twice, usually the third or fourth time, you enter into a stage called the vibrations. Now, the vibrations can be quite startling at first, especially if you've never experienced this. It felt to me, the best way I can describe it is like being a little crumb or a little ant on a carpenter's wood table. Got a huge sledgehammer right next to me. Bang, bang, bang.
That can be startling. Yes.
It's unbelievable. There's nothing to describe it. It's unbelievable. Now that's when people freak out usually, and they wake back up. What you want to do is allow that vibrational phase to move over you, and just kind of visualize yourself like you're in a hammock swinging back and forth. This is called the hammock method. Some people will try and visualize climbing a rope, reaching up for a rope or a ladder and climbing. But I like to do the hammock thing. It's more really laying down.
Well, yeah, it's more relaxing, not so
sway.
Physical.
Yeah.
Like
and if
climbing.
you just stay focused without getting freaked out, and you're just swaying, you're going to experience a pop. The vibrations will be gone. You're just going to pop, and you're going to feel wind rushing over you, and you're going to feel very light. And you might even notice, is that stucco? Is that my ceiling I'm feeling?
Oh.
Going to be out. And you might not be able to see anything. Those who can see something the first time, that's impressive. I couldn't even, and I'm a psychic. You might see nothing. You might see something. You're going to see your bedroom for sure. And when you but by the way, the first time you make it out, usually it's taken so many practices that you're just so thrilled to be out. It doesn't matter if you don't go anywhere.
Right.
It's just so happy. I would say for me, it took 4 months to do that. And some people, it takes years of practice to do that. And I would even recommend not doing it every night. I'd say every second night if you're very enthusiastic about it.
Mhm.
And it helps to read books by people who are extremely experienced. I call them experts in this field. Bob Peterson was my teacher,
Mhm.
and he's a computer analyst. And so the way he breaks it down is very technical, which very much appeals to my mind. But he also has so many practical examples and different exercises. I mean, I call him Uncle Bob, because he taught me when I was a teenager, and I'm in my 40s now. And, his wife, Kathy, they have a game where she'll hide an object in the safe. And his job is to leave his body and figure out what the object is. And he gets about 9 times out of 10.
That's neat. Yeah.
So they have that fun game. Imagine being married to someone like that.
I don't know. You couldn't hide anything you bought at the store, maybe. What'd you buy, dear, today? Oh, nothing.
That's true. That's true. Although you could make the argument, but they're probably beyond materialism at this point, those two. Aunt
Yeah,
Kathy,
yeah. Yeah.
But so, yeah, Bob Peterson, you can Google his name with astral projection. You'll see a number of his books. He actually mentioned me in the foreword of his latest one.
Oh, nice. We'll have to
Yeah.
post that in the.
Hacking the out of body experience, I believe it's called.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you can, as I said, it's a fairly simple procedure,
Mhm.
but it takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of practice, but it's worth it. And I've been thinking, how great would it be for people who have crippling disabilities
Oh,
to learn
yes.
this?
Oh,
you know?
yes. Such freedom. No, you're absolutely right. And yeah, and also, you hear about people who've been in situations where they're in, Gulag Archipelago type of thing, where they've been in like Solzhenitsyn, and he talked about being in his cell, and but you're free in your mind, you can, and in your spirit, and in your, by astral projecting as well, and by remote viewing. Can you imagine the freedom for people in those sorts of situations where they're being held?
That's funny. You must be psychic. I was thinking about whether I should make a joke or not about, so I'm going to be okay when I'm in prison for criticizing the government. And I thought, well, maybe I won't make that joke, because then when it comes true, people go, oh, he really is psychic. I'm like, okay.
No, Joyce is no.
You had to jump in. You had to jump in.
We both are, but no, but that's absolutely true. We in our spirits we are free, and I believe that. Well, I not believe. I know that that we are coming into a time that we are going to be not forced, but encouraged to dedicate more time to that kind of development, because as our technology is changing with AI and everything, people are going to be without the employment they used to have. Not all employment will be taken over by AI. That's not possible at this point. But certainly people are going to find themselves in different situations. The world is changing, and employment is changing. How people spend their time is changing, and I don't know how we're going to be cared for. I don't know how we're going to pay the rent and everything. Something's going to happen, though. We're in a complete transitional time in our history. And it's exciting to see, but it's also a little bit scary. It's like leaving the body, right? Or not the body. You're not really leaving the body, but you know what I'm saying? Like when you go into those other realms, there's a lot of fear. And we're going to be experiencing some of that very shortly, actually.
I'd even add to that many people have left their body in a way. It just depends on where you want to go. That's what counts, because when I look at a New Year's Eve photo and I see a sea of heads, and all I see is a bunch of screens, and they're all looking at what's happening through their screen, not actually looking with their face, what's going on. I realize they're just recording it, but are we in our bodies really fully? People neglecting their body, people not leaving their house anymore, people not being social. Are we really still in our bodies? And I think that's the
Interesting.
opposite of astral projection. That's like anti-projection.
Well, that's a shutting down kind of thing. We are shutting ourselves down. We're going to have to not do that. We're going to have to get out into nature. We're going to have to get out of our present environments. I mean, I don't know.
Inner projection instead of astral projection.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yes.
I was reading that self-consciousness, and I don't mean a little bit of like, ooh, I feel like, oh, what if people are looking at me? I mean,
No.
just always thinking about what's wrong with you, what's right about you, how you're projecting onto others, how people perceive you. When they scan the brain, the same centers of the brain for pain light up when people are self-conscious. So self-consciousness and pain are literally indistinguishable. They're the same thing. And they have the same effect of cortisol on the body.
Right.
And one of the tips that I learned when I was younger, because I was terribly shy, being a psychic, of course, I could sense what people actually were thinking about me and feeling toward me. So that was a conundrum in and of itself. And I just kind of woke up one time when I was about 15, 16 and began doing readings. I said, what if I just say, screw it? Who cares what people think? Let me just love them instead. And I went and I would go to parties. I would go out and be with my friends and meet new people. And I would just be like, how are you? And I'd kind of think more about how I make other people feel rather than worrying about what they think of me. And this was a huge epiphany for me. And it changed my life. That simple concept changed my life. And I recently heard a psychiatrist talking about that exact thing, saying when you go out to a party, think more about the experience you're providing other people, and that will get you around that feeling. So again, an astral projection has this sort of effect, the side effects, like you become more naturally psychic. You become, first of all, your perceptions of reality and your assumptions about the physical world are gone because you realize you're not just a physical body anymore. You realize that you're much bigger than that, especially when you leave your body and see something that then comes true later. Like there was this one experience where I went to the spirit world astrally to visit my mother one time. And she goes, go to your bedroom, because she has a house up there and there's a bedroom for me. And I go to the room, and my spirit guide Laren is there, and there's one of my cats that was living with my sister at the time in the country. I said, oh my God, Oreo. And I go up, and Laren says, give him your love. And I was healing him. I could tell there was something wrong. He was anxious seeming, and I was just loving him and helping him. And then I wake up from that experience. Oh, how interesting. And then a few days later, my dad calls me and goes, son, I told your sister not to tell you this, but a couple of weeks ago, your cat Oreo had passed away.
Oh.
The reason we didn't want to tell you was because you've got a lot on your plate right now, and we didn't want to upset you. Well, by God, I said, I think I knew that already, Dad, because I went to the spirit world and he was there. So when you see something outside of your body that you then find out is true or really happened after, then you know it's real. And that really snaps you back to go, well, I'm bigger than my body. And then you can kind of get outside yourself, no pun intended, and you can get over yourself a little bit. You don't have to take yourself so serious. People take themselves so seriously these days.
It's true. And I know getting over yourself is incredibly important and something I know I've been working on it all of my life so far. But it's true. And not take and what you're talking about being an empath, which is what you are as well. I know I am. You tend to sense what other people are, their face, their body language, their whatever feelings they have. You pick them up and but you take it personally. You can't take it personally. You can't. That's because you're reading that person's whatever they're feeling and whatever. But just to just say, well, no matter what you're doing right now, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna take you at face value, and that's it. But it's not easy when you're picking up on all that empathic stuff, right? It's not
easy.
It
isn't. That's where spirituality comes in my case. You have to really get outside yourself, and everybody's always talking about themselves. In the end, people
I
like,
know.
I had a gentleman. Just at a social function, he's like, so how much money do you make a year? And I'm like, oh, you just told me everything about yourself that I need to know. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you think a person's value is based on how much money they make? He goes, well, isn't it though? I'm like, oh, it's just funny. You just didn't ask me how many people I helped.
Yeah. No, isn't that interesting? Yeah.
And then,
and people devalue.
I gotta tell you this. He goes, well, I gave to charity. I gave $60,000 to charity last year. And I said, you gave it for a tax write-off. And he got a shit-eating grin on his face as soon as I said that. I said, you risk nothing. You actually have to give of your time. Yeah, that's helping.
Well, no, exactly. I remember I was within the family dynamics on the other. I'm divorced now, but on my husband's side of the family, because I didn't have a paying job, but I volunteered so many places and helped so many people, and I had my radio, I had my Rogers show, and I was on radio and blah blah blah. I wasn't getting paid, but because I wasn't getting paid, I had no value. I didn't have an opinion because they considered me just a stay-at-home mom, but I really wasn't. I was very busy all the time doing art and whatever else I was doing or helping people, whatever. But no value. But eventually you have to get over that because in our society that does tend, it's the bottom line, what is your bottom line?
Well, that's a materialist society, and
we're coming out of that though. We're coming out of this. We'll always need things. We'll always have to produce things. But
we're coming out of it because no one can afford any material anymore.
That's true. we're
being
forced.
We're all spiritualists.
Yeah. Well said. Yes. So, do you still do those Zoom classes for remote viewing? Would you be able to set those up for people? And I have to ask, would there be a charge if you were to actually do something? I don't know. I haven't noticed it on your website, but which people while I'm talking about that. Definitely go to broughperkins.ca. You want to book a reading with Brough, psychic medium, and that would be BROUGHPERKINS.ca. Definitely schedule a reading, and you won't be disappointed. And but I don't see anything here. Are you able to do that? Are you still doing that, or what?
Courses, yeah. So that's on the docket. So here's my idea. As opposed to having people pay exorbitant amount of money to come and sit for an hour and listen to me talk, I want to do like a subscription fee, like for $10 a month. Every week I've got myself doing special shows, broadcast courses, guest teachers with different topics. I might bring in Bob to teach the astral projection course because, for God's sakes, he's the expert. He's written like 5 books.
Yeah.
Taught me. Like I'd have Suzanne come in and talk about the history of psychic ability, tarot cards, and all this fun stuff. Like bring in different people, and so for $10 a month, like you have access to this sort of metaphysical school. And I would also include for members like great discounts on readings. So as it turns out, like what is that? $10 a month, 12 months. So that's about $120. You can ask a psychic question on a live stream once a week. You basically get your money's worth for a reading in 1 year.
Absolutely.
And it's just especially because people have to wait 3 months to see me. This way you can access me every week.
That's a brilliant idea, actually.
So
I like that
because
idea.
the way I want it is I don't want to take a lot of money. It's just $10 a month. And then what we can do is all of us together can create something that's going to benefit everybody. The more the hands, the lighter the load.
Yes, and not going into the new age stuff because you know how we both feel about new age, because there's no new age. It's ancient. It's always been here. It's not new. There's nothing new under the sun. As the saying goes from Coelus. What this is though is basically just it is. I hate to use the word anchoring light because that sounds so new age, but it's the whole idea of making more people aware of this so that it brings a different kind of vibe to the planet. Does that make sense? I mean, without sounding too woo,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it can't hurt. It can't hurt,
I became much lighter as a person in life, less angry.
Yeah, that's it. Bring down the anger quotient, like bring it down a notch or 2 or 10.
Let it go, letting go. That's that's a huge thing in astral projection, is to let go. And also in remote viewing, I mean, you've got to let go of your presuppositions. You've got to just let whatever's surprising show up, whatever is surprising, and just release it. And one of the things that the original military and scientific people who were working with the remote viewers noticed was that once they started to get very good at what they did, it would cause a sort of mania in the person because they would start to feel like, oh my God, I'm pretty powerful. And that's something they had to actually guard for.
They have to
And
look out for that, because that can become, it doesn't help.
yeah, no, it gets in the way. There's so many things. Again,
Absolutely.
the whole premise here is to get out of your own way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. I always have little things that I throw in at the end. Not about a prediction in this case, but I wanted to get your spontaneous perception on Elon Musk.
Mhm. I can't tell if he's a time traveler or if it's just that I'm perceiving that he will be remembered as one of the most important people for the next 300 years. Honestly, I can't tell if he's a time traveler from that time or if he's just going to be recognized to a large degree in that time still.
Yeah.
That's what I keep getting. And, I think he's, like anyone, a flawed person,
Sure.
but he's doing great work. I think he's got blind spots, which to me are extremely obvious, but my blind spots for which he does not have are greater. Okay. Well, I can say, okay, his interpersonal relationships are a mess. He doesn't fully, he gives too much credit, I think, to bad actors at times. But having said that, he's launching rockets and I'm not. So I think I'll forgive him. Okay. And that's just the way I think. I love how, it's like when COVID was going on, everybody's an expert. Okay. I'm not an expert. I'm not a rocket. I'm not an engineer. I'm not. And it's not even that he made the rockets himself. It's that he's able to organize these incredibly complicated tasks. And I can't even get my bedroom fully clean the way I like it, So I'm not really one to criticize. I think on net whole, he's good.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I've always said Trump is good, and everybody hates me for it. And I will be correct, just like I'm correct about a lot of other things. But I've always said Trump is good, and RFK Jr. is great too.
Yeah.
I just think what's happening down there is fantastic. I think it's the world was teetering. We have really serious problems, and these people are maybe the only thing, the first and last defense between us and that.
I think
global.
Go ahead. Global.
Globalist that wants us all to own nothing, eat bugs, have one pair of clothes a year. Now they even want to toy with the washing machines. You're not allowed to wash your clothes more than once a week, apparently.
Oh.
These are all laid out plans at the World Economic Forum. These are laid out plans, and they take a lot of money and bribe corrupt politicians and jigger our elections to get the corrupt politicians, mostly on the left, into power so that they can then subjugate us. Germany is now having complete raids on citizens for posting jokes on Facebook, just like the UK is doing, putting Granny in jail for saying. There was a gentleman who said, I don't want to see the Palestinian flag in my town. It's a British town. Can I just not see that? That's all he said. He went to jail.
I know. Well, I think, and again, like you, probably people are going to, not like what I have to say either, but I do believe that Donald Trump threw a huge tire iron into a lot of people's plans, and he keeps saying, "Do I have enough? How much time do I have?" And after having 2 assassination attempts on his life, certainly he knows that his time he's a ticking time bomb to how long he has to do what he needs to do. So, and yeah, I know a lot of people are going to jump all over my head, but I don't want to go into too much on the program because, I always like to keep it a little bit, I always bring up I always bring it up though. I always bring it up. So we end up talking about it. But, I think we're going to see some remarkable things in 2025 and some real shifts that need to happen on the planet. Hey, listen, not many people. Basically, Winston Churchill was not a well-loved politician, but he was who we needed at the time he stepped in, He was needed, and I think that's what's happening now.
Well, and as the Christians point out, we are all of us fallen. And even as horrible and wretched as all of us are, God still uses us as tools. And I think it's
Yeah.
that intermix, just like you so beautifully put, it's that intermix of the circumstance and the right tool in that right scenario. And just to finish what I was saying earlier, Elon Musk, for instance, is part of a team of people who are standing in the way of absolute tyranny, which is about to take over the planet if we're not careful. And you know, I want anyone who disagrees with what I'm saying or gets a flinch, like a little, "Ugh," I want you to ask yourself, where have you heard the information that you're getting? Have you followed these people directly? Have you read any of their materials, their books? Or are you hearing it through second and third hand parties, which are probably the legacy media, which we know is funded by governments, which we know is a propaganda arm? I mean, come on, be honest with yourself. I'm so honest with myself that I will tell myself if I'm being an ass or if I'm being crazy. I don't meet very many people who are that honest with themselves. And I think that's the
I'm
problem.
honest about myself. I know when I'm being
You
a
are.
doink. You know? It's like,
But that's why you and I, you know, that's why we're yakety yak in here. But
Yeah.
most people, they're not. Most people just want to gloss over and feel like a good person all the time. And that's delusional. None of us are a good person all the time.
no. And yeah, and I really do feel that we're going to be seeing some good things. Look what's happening. I mean, I have to say with Israel I'm a Jew, you know, we get knocked for everything and little tiny sliver of a country, and we're getting so beaten down for no good reason. You know, it's like we're in the way. We're in the way again. It's a tire iron into some other plan, but yeah. So I want to end on that basically. And you have a last thing you want to say about everything. We're coming up to our hour.
About what, the state of the world, or what did
But
you mean?
whatever you want to say. State of the world, Elon Musk, anything about astral projection, remote viewing, whatever you want to say.
Before the raid and the police come and haul me away.
I don't hear the RCMP at my door yet.
That's right. Well, you know, I think it just circles back to what we were saying earlier, which is that most things worthwhile have to be really practiced and honed, and that goes for whether it's a spiritual development like we were talking about in this episode, or also learning to wake up and detach yourself from being manipulated from outside sources. You got to get out of your own way. But one of the beauties of getting out of your own way is you also stop letting other people get in your way too, because as you get out of your own way, you also are not fazed as much by what other people think and say. And you start to become a seeker of truth. That's something that people have lost, because one of the lies that postmodernist relativists say, and this is what got me on the path back in the year 2000 when I started to hear in the New Age community phrases like my truth, my personal truth. There is no my truth.
No,
There is
there's the right and wrong. Yeah,
there is
good
a
and
right and
bad.
Truth is objective, and so we're all blind to it most of the time, and what we have to do is make life a game of seeking that truth, and even in some senses a purification process to distill the truth out of situations. And
Oh yeah.
you know, that's something people have forgotten, and that's always what has driven me, is a pursuit of the truth, because here I am in this strange world with the rest of us, all of us together. And I mean, who doesn't ask themselves at some point in their life, why am I here? What is this place? Who? And that is what drives me, is to figure out the truth to those answers. And I've, you know, to be honest, if people ask me, bro, why do you, I can't give you an answer as to why that fascinates me so much. But I suppose what I've learned over the years of doing this is it's such an adventure. It is so fun.
Yeah, it is actually. It is, and it's very what's that? Freeing. I guess that's the word. Liberating. That's what I want to say. Although, yeah. So I want to go out with some Who. I picked this before I always pick a song just before we go on, and I always seem to pick the right song. I'm gonna play "I Can See for Miles."
I love it.
Okay, I think you'll enjoy this, and everyone else, and certainly think for yourself, do for yourself, and for others. You know, everybody's got a great gift. Everyone's got something to share that's valuable, and And you know, the best things in life are free, so it doesn't have to cost you anything to do something nice. So do something nice today. That's all I can say, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So here we are. Who I can see for miles and miles and miles.
I know you deceived me, now here's a surprise. I know that you have, 'cause there's magic in my eyes. I can see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Oh yeah. If you think that I don't know about the little tricks you play, and never see you when deliberately you put things in my way, well, here's a poke at you. You're gonna choke on it too. You're gonna lose that smile, because all the while I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Oh yeah. You took advantage of my trust in you when I was so far away. I saw you holding lots of other guys, and now you've got the nerve to say that you still want me. Well, that says maybe, but you gotta stand trial, because all the while I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Oh yeah. I know you've deceived me, now here's a surprise. I know that you have, 'cause there's magic in my eyes. I can see for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Oh yeah. The Eiffel Tower and the Taj Mahal nights to see on clear days. You thought that I would need a crystal ball to see right through the haze. Well, here's a poke at you. You're gonna choke on it too. You're gonna lose that smile, because all the while I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and miles. I could see for miles and 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 miles. I could see for 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 miles and
You are listening to the Joyce Aldrich Show from Toronto, Canada. Paranormal and UFO Edition. Yes, we call them UFOs.
Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight might be Venus or some unknown light hovering to